Tszyu and Sebastian Fundora had a throwback type of fight. One of the best fights in recent memory. And under the circumstances, just legendary. Yeah, if you missed this pay-per-view, you're going to have to rewatch this fight because it was an instant classic. I mean, the circumstances. Let's talk about the circumstances for a second. You had Tszyu, who had one of the worst cuts on top of his head. I mean, kind of near his forehead, just leaking. I believe it was towards the end of the third round. He goes through the fourth round. I thought it was going to be stopped. When the fourth round finished, I'm going to be honest with y'all, I thought it was going to be stopped. But listen, Tszyu proved tonight that he is a dog. And he comes to fight. He didn't look for a way out. You know, he told the doctor he was fine. Just leaking. That cut was so bad. Now, let me break down further. Because Tszyu won the first two rounds soundly. Third round, debatable. He might have won that round too. And so you're looking at Tszyu, if, you know, he told the doctor, you know, he can't really see or anything like that. And it gets stopped after the fourth round. You're looking at a situation where Tszyu might win the fight on the cards. Or at the worst case scenario, it's a draw. So a lot of guys would have looked for a way out. Not Tszyu. He just decided, the crowd was there. Everyone wanted to see this fight. He's going to continue. Just an absolute warrior. And then you talk about Fundora using his height, his length, his reach, and just boxing beautifully, using that jab, you know, great movement, staying inside the pocket. It was a mano-a-mano, toe-to-toe type of fight. No one wanted to quit. No one wanted to take a step backwards. And for Fundora, you know, it looked, I don't know if he got punched in the mouth and he was just bleeding and, you know, swallowing blood, or, you know, it looked like it was pouring from his nose. He had his own issues to get through this fight, you know. So those are the circumstances for this fight. It was an all-out war, and these guys just delivered. 12 straight rounds, no ducking. So straight away, you know, credit to both guys for showing up tonight. A phenomenal main event. This card also had, you know, Raleigh versus Pitbull. And let me tell y'all something. Raleigh just, I don't know what he's been working on. I don't know what was going on with him. He got dog walked in this fight, you know, no pun intended. But he got dog walked. And eventually, you know, the fight was stopped. Pitbull, great showing. Manny Pacquiao Promotions own, you know, Isaac Pitbull Cruz. Great win for him. And now, you know, we'll see, you know, if he gets the likes of, you know, Devin Haney and these guys. So let's talk about the result of Tszyu and Fundora. You got Tszyu, who obviously had a huge cut, decided to continue, put everything out there, and, you know, he took this fight on short notice. It was supposed to be, you know, Keith Thurman, obviously. And obviously, you know, Fundora, of course, stepped up on short notice. So it's big credit to him also. But I believe, you know, it should be a rematch. And of course, that brings us to Errol Spence stepped into the ring afterwards. And he said that was his next fight. However, I believe there should be a rematch for Tszyu. You got to reward him for this fight, man. Like I said, a lot of guys would have looked for a way out. Tszyu continued this fight. He put on a show for everyone that was there and everyone that was watching at home. And, you know, he had a lot to deal with in this fight. The way he came out the gate and how good he looked. And after the cut, it was a whole totally different fight. What do you do with Errol Spence? I believe Errol Spence should fight Keith Thurman. Now, Terrence Crawford came out of nowhere. You know, Terrence Crawford that's been calling out Canelo for the past however many months. Now, if you know my channel, if you guys know me, you know I'm a huge fan of Terrence Crawford. And I have to say this because it's the truth, you know. Like, Terrence Crawford has been calling out Canelo the entire time. He hasn't talked about Tszyu or Sebastian Fundora. He hasn't talked about Keith Thurman. He has not talked about Errol Spence Jr. It's all been about Canelo. Canelo now has Munguia and Berlanga. And what do you know, out of nowhere, Terrence Crawford says Errol Spence needs to wait in line. He is going to fight Fundora. It doesn't really make any sense. It really doesn't. Now, if you asked me, I feel like there needs to be a rematch for this fight. It was a phenomenal fight. Tszyu deserves a rematch. Errol Spence versus Keith Thurman. Now, what do you do with Terrence Crawford? Well, Terrence Crawford has Boots Ennis right there. And listen, I just want to say this. I used to say for years, right, Terrence Crawford was being done wrong by Errol Spence Jr., by Keith Thurman, by all of these guys, basically insinuating they were much better than him. There's no need for them to face Terrence Crawford. He needs to get his name out there. He's not a, star or anything like that. So they look down on him. He's doing the same to Boots Ennis. I don't know if he recognizes that, if he realizes what he's doing to Boots Ennis. It's the exact same thing that Errol Spence Jr., that Keith Thurman, and all of these guys did to him. And I feel like that's really, really wrong. So I feel like, Terrence Crawford should fight Boots Ennis. Of course, I favor Terrence Crawford in that fight, but I want to see that fight. I feel like Boots Ennis has earned that fight. He's a great fighter, and he deserves it. Anyways, just a phenomenal pay-per-view event and a great win for Sebastian Fundora. He definitely deserved it and showed great technical abilities tonight. Let's see what's next. Let me know what you guys think. Comment, like, subscribe, share. I appreciate it. Peace.